All right, so we're going to do interval notation. And if you look at this, interval notation is a way to answer an inequality. It uses parentheses and brackets to show where it starts and ends. So if you look at this first one, if it's a parentheses, that means it's an open circle because it's not equal. And if it's a bracket, that means that it's a filled in circle. Okay, you're always going to use parentheses with your infinity signs. Okay, so if I look at this first question, and I'm not going to do all of these examples, I would go ahead and you could multiply in or you could divide. I'm actually going to work this both ways. If I divide by 4, I get x plus 3 is greater than a negative 6, and then I minus 3, and I get x is greater than a negative 9. All right, so in my notation, so I'm going to have x is greater than a negative 9, and my interval notation will say negative 9 to infinity. Okay, I just want to show you something because some kids don't divide first. You could also multiply first, so you get 4x plus 12 is greater than a negative 24. Okay, and so then you would minus the 12 and minus the 12, and you get 4x is greater than a negative 36, and you divide by 4 and divide by 4, and x is greater than a negative 9, which is what I already had. So you can divide first or you can multiply. I do not care on a problem like this. Okay, we're going to jump to example 3. So on example 3, you do have to multiply first because there's an x on the outside. So you'd have 7x minus 2x plus 8 is less than or equal to a negative 2. These are like terms. So 5x plus 8 is less than or equal to a negative 2. And then I'm going to minus 8 from both sides. And I get 5x is less than or equal to a negative 10. And then I'm going to divide by 5, and x is less than or equal to a negative 2. So if I come here, I'm going to fill in my circle, and I'm going to go at a negative 2, and I'm going less than. So I'm going to do my interval notation. I'm going from a negative infinity to a negative 2 with a bracket. It's a bracket because it's a filled in circle. Okay, so let's take a look at the next one, and then we'll actually be done with notes. So I'm going to times in by a negative 8, so I get a negative 8x plus 8 minus x is less than or equal to a negative 28. And if I look, I have my like terms. Negative 8 and a negative 1 is a negative 9x plus 8 is less than or equal to a negative 28. So then I'm going to minus 8 and minus 8, and I get a negative 9x is less than or equal to a negative 36. And then you divide by a negative 9 and divide by a negative 9, which flips your inequality sign. So it's a closed circle, and it's going greater than. And so my interval notation would be 4 to infinity with parentheses. Like I said at the beginning, it always has a parentheses with infinity.